all y'all. Yeah, maybe in the South it's like he, she, other, and all y'all.
There you go.
That sounds good.
Feeling small when tears are in your eyes. I cry them all.
Hello, everybody. This is Ray Renati, and you've reached Green Room on Air, and you were privileged to hear the amazing Carly Ozard singing her version of Bridge Over Troubled Water, and spoiled by me at the end joining in. I just can't help myself. How you doing today? You having a good day? I hope so. I'm trying to have a good day. I've been having lots of insomnia. Last night I took one of these pills that my doctor gave me. It's an antihistamine. Kind of knocked me out and made me feel kind of like I have rocks in my head today. But I'm doing the best I can. The sun is shining through a little bit of cloud cover. I just looked outside. I want to get out there because I'd rather be outside than sitting here, although I need to talk to you. I need to get this out. We have some great guests today. Dr. Tachi Egwu. I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name right. I've known her for 6 years as Tachi, but her full name is Dr. Tachi Egwu, or Egwu. And I'm not sure, Tachi, when you listen to this, I should have asked you before, but I think it's Egwu. Egwu. Shoot. Heck. You see, folks, when you have a podcast, you should ask people how to pronounce their names. But I don't have a producer, so I forget things. Also, I'm a little goofy in the head. And my other guest is Kevin Williams. That's easy. Tachi and Kevin, Dr. Tachi and Kevin, run the podcast TV Channeling. TV Channeling is an in-depth TV review and entertainment news podcast where Kevin and Tachi talk and laugh behind TV's back. Don't you love that? They have like a little tagline. I need one of those, a good one. That's great because that's what they do. They're a lot of fun. And they both just sound wonderful and they're so smart and they love television. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Television. Now, I suppose what I should do, since I'm a good host, is tell you a little bit about Tachi and Kevin. Dr. Tachi Egwu is media professor, social media consultant, podcaster, filmmaker, and journalist, and one half of the creative team behind the TV Channeling podcast. She has fully jumped into the live streaming revolution as the host of Mediascope on the streaming platforms Periscope, Facebook Live, and LinkedIn Live, and WJMS Radio. She co-hosts two other live streamed shows, and We're Live is one of them, and the other one is Sci-Fi Saturdays with Keith C. Wade. Tachi's work has been featured in various types of publications, such as The Griot, and she is a contributor and producer for The Burton Wire. An avid filmmaker, she produced and co-directed the documentaries Runway Afrique, and co-produced, directed, and did the cinematography for the documentary Sunshine Chic. Now, Kevin Williams is a Los Angeles-based podcaster, blogger, and columnist. He founded the site BigManOut.com, where he wrote the Big Man Out advice column and authored television, movie, and music reviews. As a podcaster, Kevin's content on entertainment and tech has been featured on the podcast app Anchor. He is the creator and host of Last Weekly Box Office. Kevin is also one half of the creative team behind the 5-star rated entertainment news and review podcast TV Channeling, which we've talked about 7 times already, and creator and co-host of the pop culture and news podcast Last Weekly. Now, folks, just before we get to Kevin and Tachi, I want to tell you that this show can be listened to on the website greenroomonair.com. That's greenroomonair.com. Please go to it and listen to all of my past episodes. You can also listen to this show on all of your favorite podcasting platforms, including Spreaker, Podbean, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Oh, I could go on and on. It's everywhere. It's permeating the whole inter and intranet world. And I'm so happy about that. And if you like this podcast, please tell your friends. Tell your friends to come on and listen. Send them to greenroomonair.com. I also have an Instagram for this. It's called Green Room on Air, but I have to put some posts up on there. I haven't done many yet, but there's going to be a ton because you have to be up with the social media these days, apparently. One last thing. If you could be so kind, please give the show a rating, preferably on Apple Podcasts. I think you can get there through iTunes most easily, or on any of the platforms that you happen to be listening to this on. Of course, I only want 5 stars and incredible feedback. Now, give me a fair rating, 1 to 5 stars, and say anything you'd like or nothing. But please do something. I'd be so appreciative. And so would my grandpappy and my grandmammy. All right, everybody. I think that's enough for me. So without any further ado, let's get to my guests, Kevin and Tachi. So why don't we talk about the venture that you two have embarked upon for the last couple years? TV channeling.
Woohoo!
Oh wait,
Hey.
are we started? I didn't know that you were. Wait,
Hey, we started, man. This is how I ramble.
I love it. I love it because
Wait, you don't do an open for your show? You don't be like, "Hi, hey, I'm Ray Renati, and
No, I
you're
do that
in the
later.
green room."
I do that before. I do that.
okay.
Yeah, I kind of do like Mark Maron does. I used to listen to him constantly, so I kind of emulate him a little bit.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
there are
cool.
But there are people. You know what? I am so again the way we roll and the way that people that are like way more, grown up about the whole thing have like a canned introduction that they play in front of every episode. So there's not like an introduction like we're here blank or whatever. So sorry, I didn't know. You need to give me like an action or something like that. So I know the show is officially
Here we go.
done.
action. Go, Kevin.
Shin. Okay, Kevin, put on your podcast voice.
Hello.
You two have the
Wow.
best voices, though, I have to say.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Totally professional. I'm like,
Aw.
yeah.
Well, Tachi has rubbed off on me because I learned about podcasting on the streets. So the mean streets of Los Angeles. And so
So did I. Was I a podcaster before this? No. but I am a voice talent. So I've done voiceover since 2007.
Well, it shows.
Oh, well, thank you.
Both of you have wonderful voices and could be voice
Aw.
talents. Oh, you do.
well, I'm glad we found each other.
So
Yeah,
TV channeling. I think I remember when you guys decided to start this way back when, during the days of Anchor. Anchor was for those listening, Anchor was a social audio app, which is now just a podcasting app. At first, we all became friends on this thing called Anchor 1.0 and 2.0, I guess.
Yeah, I've been talking about Anchor a lot since being on Clubhouse, the new social audio app. And we talked about like the 3 iterations of Anchor. So the initial version of Anchor was basically, I would describe it as audio Twitter.
Yeah.
And a lot of us just took to it like a duck to water, and we were loving it. And we made a lot of lasting friendships. And that's where Tachi and I met. And actually, the genesis of TV channeling all started with a post of Tachi's on Anchor where she was doing her Mediascope briefs. And she had done something about, what's his name? Nate Parker.
Nate Parker.
There was a controversy about him, and in the past, apparently, he had been charged with rape. There was actually a trial, and he was found not guilty. But what happened when he was in college was rearing its head. It had gotten into the press, and it was affecting the release of his remake or reimagining of Birth of a Nation. And so Tachi was talking about it, and I responded to her, and she responded to me, and I responded to her, and she responded to me. And we had like a full-fledged back and forth about it. And according to my co-host from my other podcast, Last Weekly, Anthony Nunez, also known as Anthony Tone Show Nunez, he claims that he said that you guys need to do something. And so Tachi contacted me on Twitter, like, let's do something. And we brainstormed and we came up with TV channeling. And we did our very first show right after the 2016 election.
Wow.
That was fun.
The history of TV channeling. So tell us, what is the premise? What do you guys do on TV channeling? What do you do?
TV. Wow, what don't we do? I think that's a more appropriate.
Do it all.
That's a more appropriate question. But we actually are a TV review podcast, and we also talk about TV, film, and entertainment news. But often it doesn't stop there. We'll often talk about things that we'll try to, because both of us are passionate about different things as well, and so we try to see if we can make it related to TV or entertainment or film in some sort of way, or talk about a show that deals with this same thing. And it's been so much fun because I've been watching our evolution. And we started off as TV reviews. I remember our first review was People of Earth, so we did, which is no longer around, but we did that, and then we started to also add news, doing TV, film, and entertainment news. Then we started to do top fives, where we talk about our top five blank of all time, and we often do this with guests. So we've had different guests on to talk. One of my favorites was the top five food shows of all time. We did with a chef. So much fun. So we've done things like that. So we've evolved from being just really reviews to also adding in news, also adding in things like top fives. Now we've got our new hype worthy thing going on to watch a show, and even if it's not a new show, to see if it was worth all the hype. So that's kind of our evolution, and we continuously grow and evolve. I think that's the special thing about what we do, because I think sometimes people, you're like, well, what's different between you and XYZ? Well, it's us. That's what makes a difference. But I think we also honestly have this chemistry that goes on because we're both TV addicts. That's why we're the TV twins. So, yeah, I probably have gone so far off on a tangent, but hopefully I answered what you need.
We love tangents. So the hype thing, I like that. What's the most recent TV hype that you can think of?
Yeah, the hype.
Talked about it yet?
We actually just started this is going to be a regular segment that we do from time to time. Hype worthy. We actually should have made it 2 episodes. We tried to do it in 1 episode, and it's like a super long episode. But we actually did Bridgerton and Queen's Gambit, and we actually discussed the shows, like, because they got tons and tons of hype, and tons of views, and like, were these shows really worthy of all the attention they got? Was it deserved? And that's what we kind of explore when we do the hype worthy episodes.
I think I listened to that one, or part of it. I'm not sure. What can I tell you what I think about the two?
Oh, absolutely. We're in the green room. Thank you. So yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So Queen's Gambit, I really, really loved it. I thought the main actress is phenomenal. I think she's going to be a big deal in the future. I can't remember her name. Do you remember her name? I don't remember.
No, I don't. But I refer to it as the old fashioned star turn. That her performance in Queen's Gambit was an absolute star turn.
Absolutely, star turn all the way. And she, I think, is. Well, there were a lot of good things about the show. One, I love chess, and they were very accurate about that. And chess was actually a big part of the show. It wasn't just some ancillary thing going on in the back. And they made it really exciting, which I thought was as exciting as chess can be, let's say.
No, it was imaginative. The direction, the way they visually showed the chess pieces, and the idea that when we see her imagining, looking at the ceiling, and we see her imagining all the moves and all the possible moves, it was quite compelling. I was shocked at how once I got in, because a friend kind of twisted my arm into like watch it with me. I'm like, all right, I'll watch one, and then like, okay, let's watch one more. We're finished. We watched the whole thing. So it was that we just devoured it.
Yes. I agree. Now I have a problem right here. Zoom is telling me, this is like, they used to give it to me free all the time. Now they're telling me that they're going to kick me off.
Let me tell you why. Because you have more than one other person here. Once you have 3, you have a 40-minute time limit.
Oh, okay.
So do we have to start another room, or what happens?
Probably.
We're just done. It was great being on the show.
I need to start another one. I want to keep talking about Queen's Gambit. I guess I have a few minutes left. Yes.
Yeah, let's keep going.
I got distracted the last couple of things that you said there, Kevin. But the imaginativeness of the script, the way the director, I don't know if it was the director or whomever, just the chess pieces,
pieces
on the ceiling when she was having her drug hallucinations. Her relationships to the nerdy chess dudes was incredible and wonderful. And I think those people were all portrayed so fantastically. And it was so real and so vital, and you could see the struggle she was going through. And it seemed like chess was part of the thing that saved her and part of the thing that caused it. And it was very complex.
Oh, absolutely.
Now the other show, let's take a break, folks, and then we'll come back when I make a new Zoom room. I think I better upgrade Zoom if I'm going to be using this all the time. And we'll talk about, what is it? Bridgerton?
Bridgerton.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back. So we just discussed Queen's Gambit. Tachi, did you want to say anything about Queen's Gambit, or did you already? I don't remember.
I did not, but I found it, like Kevin was the one who talked about, the reason I watched Queen's Gambit was solely because of Kevin, because he wanted to do a review of it. And like him, at first, I have watched The Crown. I do not need to know anything else about royal. I am good. But he said, no, this is completely not what you think it is. And so, because I don't play chess, I didn't recognize Queen's Gambit as a chess term. But watching it, oh my gosh.
Wasn't that great?
It just phenomenal. I will say some of the CGI is a little bit left to be desired, but
we're in Russia now. Wink. Yeah.
I'm like, now, good and damn well that it looked, it was not believable. However, what they did not have in budget, they made up for in talent and story. I just was in love with that. And, the whole thing of her and the chess pieces. And it seemed to be that every time she came up with her moves, it was because of those damn barbiturates or whatever they gave her that she got hooked on when she was living in the orphanage. That's what they used to give them. And that's how she got hooked. And it's, that's not just her story. This is like a whole bunch of people that grew up in that time that they're like, oh, this is good for you. And then subsequently you get hooked on these things. And she's going through withdrawals and all of that. But the key point and the story in it is that we often have the power to do all these amazing things without the things we think we need to do it, if that makes any sense. Because when she needed to, she was able to picture her moves without the drugs, which let you know that she was a genius the whole time. It had nothing to do with the drugs. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a huge lesson in general for all of us.
Absolutely. Showed her growth as a person, and that she started to believe in herself. And she hit rock bottom before she got there.
Oh, yeah.
And they were giving her benzodiazepines. And let me just give a little public service announcement here. So at the time, it was Librium that they were giving people a lot. And there was a name for this drug. I think they said it once, which was similar to Librium, and the pill actually looked like a real Librium pill, but they gave it a fictitious name. And there's a huge benzodiazepine problem in this country right now. I was actually dependent on benzodiazepines for 20 years, and I spent the last 2.5, 3 years getting off of one, and it was the most horrible experience of my life. And I'm still having a lot of insomnia. But just a little public service announcement there. I often, when I finish coughing, I often do that here on the podcast now because I want to help people. And I can't talk because something into my throat.
Wow, no, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Wow. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, it's horrible. Like a lot of people, they don't even know this. So the people get off the God, I sound like Trump. Not a lot of people know this, but yeah,
a lot of people are saying. Yeah.
A lot of people have been saying, and not many people know this, but it's incredible. People get off of the opioids. They have an opioid addiction. It's relatively simple to get off. I'm not going to say it's easy, but then they're also hooked and they didn't realize it on their benzodiazepines. And then they have the nightmare because those are brutal to get off of. And nobody talks about it in government or anything. It's a huge, huge problem.
Wow.
Anyway. Yeah. I mean, I think I started taking them because I was having sleep problems, and then they just told me to keep taking it because it was too hard to get off of them. And then they said, well, you need to get off because we found it causes dementia and all these other things. And then I realized once I get off, it caused a bunch of other stuff that I wasn't even aware of over the years. So anyway, Queen's Gambit, benzodiazepines.
Wow. But yeah. I mean, I think that's the amazing thing about this because it speaks to real issues.
Yeah.
This was not fictitious. This really happened and continues to happen. Yes. And it's really sad. And you, especially when they medicate children,
and they're still
really
doing
sad.
It. And
yes.
there are still doctors prescribing these drugs long term, and they're not supposed to be used for more than 2 to 3 weeks. And they prescribe them for years. I asked the doctor why, and he told me, well, I've asked so many doctors why, and they don't want to say it. And finally, one told me, he says, it's because we just want to get patients off our backs. Like it works. It sedates people. It mellows them out. And our jobs are then easier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, isn't that something? But yeah, Queen's Gambit. I wish I didn't have this frog in my throat. Why is this happening? I'll drink my tea.
Sponsored by.
Sponsored by
you know?
Green Tea.
Yay.
Green Tea, your source of riboflavonoids and omega-3s. Green Tea.
Green tea is the new black tea.
Ba-da-ba.
The new blue tea. The new smart tea.
I'm drinking it.
Da-da. Okay, we're back, folks. Thanks for listening to that message about green tea. Green tea, your drink of choice. The other show, Bridgerton. Jeez, why can't I get the damn thing right? Bridgerton. Okay, what'd you think of that? And I'll tell you what I think.
All right, you go first, Tachi.
Okay, so I love Shonda Rhimes. I love all things Shonda Rhimes. She is messy. She is sexy. She is all of that. I have to say I adore Bridgerton. Obviously there were some things that may not have been as accurate, but I love the fact that it was multicultural and it did not feel like forced multiculturalism or people trying to tick off boxes for, yep, we got a black. Yeah, we got it. It didn't feel like that. It felt really genuine, and it was genuine. I mean, I think we all know the story of Queen Charlotte and the fact that she was biracial. We know that there were black people that lived in England, obviously brought there during the slave trade, but then some of them managed to get into the upper rungs of society. That's not a hand clap for England at all, but it's not. The story is not so far out there or so fantastic that it cannot be believed. And I think that people are just ready to be engulfed in this kind of fantasy world, even though it's based off of, some reality, there's clearly an aspect of a fictional feel. It feels like a story and not a documentary. And I think that's what we so need, in these times that we're in. We're tired of being reminded of reality. We live in this COVID hell every day. So I think we just needed something that was a great distraction. So beyond it being a distraction, I think the characters are very well developed. I'm wanting to know more about each of the backstories of the characters. So I'm looking forward to season 2.
Great.
Okay.
Kevin?
Well, I had absolutely had some issues with the show. I feel like I would have been happier if the show was just using colorblind casting. People asked the question before the show, like, is this going to be a colorblind casting kind of fantasy? Like when they did, Disney did a version of Cinderella with Brandy in the title role and Whitney Houston was in it. And it was a multiracial cast and it was just a fantasy. And so that's what I thought they were going to do, but they didn't. And then they actually finally do have someone mention the fact that in that, reimagining of history, everything changed because of Queen Charlotte, and then basically people of color. There was no more racism because one white king fell in love with a black woman, and so racism over. So I had a bit of a problem with that, but the idea of seeing people of color in a Regency setting, I think people are willing to forgive a lot. Also, I had an issue with I feel what the term queer baiting, that in the promotion for the show, the trailer, they show 2 gay men, and then it turned out that was not a main story at all. It was a side story at best. And so maybe there's rumors that maybe that will be more fully developed in season 2. But what I can accuse the show of being is not entertaining, because it kept me entertained and it kept me watching. And I will say, the funny thing is, this was the most watched thing of the year on any platform. The ratings were off the charts. But the funny thing is, since it launched, it dropped on Christmas Day, and people, because of COVID, were at home with families and people were watching it together. I can't think of anything more uncomfortable than watching Bridgerton with your family, because there's a lot of thrusting. And it kept going. There was one scene, and it was like, anybody who's used to seeing movies, there's a way that normally sex scenes happen where you'll see a sex scene happening and the camera will pan to a window and then it'll go to something else. That's the end of the sex scene. The camera panned to the window and then it panned right back and they're in a new position. Like, it just would not stop. It would not stop.
Sounds like maybe you enjoyed that part, Kevin.
No, actually, I found it hugely uncomfortable, because it was one of all the sex scenes, because I know why they had to show things to completion, because there's a whole story about the fact that he didn't want to have children, and so he was, for lack of a better term, pulling out. And because his wife didn't understand how, where babies come from for the most part. And so she didn't understand what was happening. So we had to basically we had to know that he was pulling out. But after they established that that's how he was having sex and stopping from getting pregnant, they had more sex scenes where they showed the whole thing. And I was just like, wow, I knew Shonda Rhimes, like Tachi says, is messy and loves she dances on the edge, like on shows like Grey's Anatomy. But on Netflix, there is no edge. You can just keep going. And she kept going and going and going and thrusting and repeat.
Thrust?
I hope your kids aren't in the room, Ray.
No, he is, but he's 18 years old and he knows way more about so many things than I do. So
Wow.
Things have changed.
Can I just,
yes.
May I just respond for a minute to Kevin? Because I do see exactly what he's saying in terms of the colorblind casting. But I think that there is so much out there that really deals with race in a negative way, that for me, this was something nice to see. I I want to turn on the television, and when race is discussed, it's not about a march because somebody else got killed. It's not, because someone else got denied another opportunity because of who they are. There's so much of that now that it was nice to be able to turn on and see race in this way. And, they're still discussing it, albeit not in depth. They answer the question of why there are so many black people around, why there's so many people
Tachi,
of color.
I just want to make it clear. I'm cool with a fantasy type thing. If they were going to basically go and just, imagine a world where race wasn't an issue and it's a Regency kind of England era kind of thing, I would absolutely sign me up. When you put a woman in a corset and you put a guy in that long with a jacket with tails, like sign me up. I'm there every time. People on fainting couches for something. They had furniture just for fainting. So I'm there. But it seemed like it was a fantasy. And then they basically mentioned, oh, yeah, race is a thing, but it got fixed. And I'm just like, what? It was just it was such an offhand. There's one scene. We actually played it on the episode where we talked about it. And it's literally that is the mention of race. It literally is like a 30-second throwaway scene. And I felt like, no, go just make it a fantasy. Race isn't an issue in this world. I can get with that. I just felt like, don't say that, oh, yeah, we cured racism because one white guy fell in love with a black woman. That is not the end of racism.
I get that. I just think that when, when you make it a fantasy, that means fantastical and not possible. So that's all.
This is the kind of in-depth reviewing / arguing we do on TV channeling.
Let me say can I say what I thought about it?
Absolutely.
It's my show.
We're in the green room.
It's my show. I can say whatever I want. I enjoyed that little tete-a-tete very much, and I hope that our audience did too. Now, let me tell you what I think. I had to stop watching the show after the first episode. Couldn't take it anymore. And I loved the fact, I love the way they cast it. And I think the story had a lot of potential. The problem I had were a couple of things. One, I could not stand the narration of Julie Andrews.
My God.
I couldn't stand it.
You're coming for Julie Andrews?
I couldn't stand it that she was ruining the show. What?
You dare say Fraulein Maria ruined the show?
I do.
It's going to take more than a spoonful of sugar to make that go down.
It kept taking me out of the moment. I was like, I don't want to. I want to be in the show. I don't want to listen to her telling me what I'm seeing. I just, and her voice, it felt like I was watching an after-school special every time she spoke.
Oh my God!
So was it the narration?
Bad? What?
No, was it the narration or was it Julie Andrews?
Both, I think. It was so milk toasty sounding. And then I hate narration unless it's really, really necessary. Otherwise, I hate it.
Remember, the narration is the voice of the writer,
Lady Whistledown.
Lady Whistledown.
That's what I can't stand.
She is the one that no one knows who her identity is, and she is basically. She can basically destroy people with the power of her pen. And so we're hearing how she's presenting what she's presenting to all of society, and all of society is reading it. So that's the voice when we're hearing Lady Whistledown's voice through Julie Andrews, she's basically telling us what all the people are reading, what they're consuming, and what they're consuming is changing their views. And actually, lives are hanging in the balance. She can actually destroy people's reputation with a stroke of a pen. And so, I can't believe you're saying this about, Julie.
Wait a minute.
Andrews.
I love Julie Andrews.
Both Victor and Victoria have canceled you.
I love Julie Andrews. I just felt like I didn't stick with it because that whole style was just turning me off. Now, what I'm going to do is go back and watch it and get through that. And it sounds like maybe I will come around, because I have to say there are great TV shows out there that the first couple episodes I stopped and people said, no, you got to keep watching. And then I was hooked. So I have a feeling that might happen with this show.
Oh,
But-
it's absolutely addictive. And one thing I will say that is a thing that lots of shows don't do that I think is a reason why to continue to watch is a lot of times shows will set up a central question at the beginning. So the central question is what is the identity of who is Lady Whistledown? This person is pulling puppet strings and controlling everything, and she's unseen, or he or she is unseen or unknown. And in the last episode, that question is answered. We find out who Lady Whistledown is. And I was like, what? So I was kind of surprised by the identity of who it ultimately was, but I was more shocked that they actually revealed it, because normally shows let this kind of thing drag on for years before they answer central questions like that.
Well, don't you reveal it, Kevin, please. I don't
will
want to
not
upset
spoil
my
it.
listeners.
I will not spoil it.
So, okay. The other thing that I had trouble with is just the fake sort of colors and stuff.
Oh, the garish, a lot of people had, oh my God, there are so many videos on YouTube by historians and costume designers talking about how the clothes are incorrect.
Yes.
But if you're basically living in a fantasy where people of African descent, racism is an issue in that time, then maybe their taste or whatever from the colors that came from their culture might make their way into the garments they would be wearing then. And I felt like it was kind of a fantasy anyway. So have the kind of heightened reality of some of the clothes and fascinators and stuff like that. I kind of felt like that all kind of was part of the whole allure of the show. The fact that it looks so different from other kind of Regency type shows visually.
Well, hey, everyone has their own taste. I mean, I sort of love really gritty kind of TV and film. That's not to say that I can't enjoy something like this. I just was having I was making these judgments based on my own tastes from the first episode, and I just had to stop.
No, that's absolutely fair, because one of the things when it comes to TV shows in general, it's so hard to do a good pilot. And a lot of times shows what they think the show is going to be about and what it ends up ultimately being about. It takes a while for them to get their sea legs and to actually realize, okay, this is how we're going to tell the story. And so sometimes you have to give a show a couple of episodes to, get their footing.
And what I love, and I've seen this a lot, with recent TV especially, is the producers and the writers and the directors, they see their errors and then they fix them in subsequent episodes. And I love that. That didn't used to happen years ago. For instance, Seinfeld was...
You just stay with it.
Huh?
I said, when something is rubbish, you just tended to stay with it.
I think so. I mean, even Seinfeld, the first 2 years was absolutely awful. They hardly ever play those on repeats. But it took 2 years to get good, and now I see shows after 2-3 episodes, they fix the problems and all of a sudden it's a great show.
Or they get canceled.
They get canceled if they don't. I think it's hard now. They have to get good or they're going to be off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so many shows don't get the chance to find their footing or to build an audience. One of the shows that I absolutely love that has built an audience since it got canceled on Netflix is Penny Dreadful. That show was absolute genius, but it just did not catch on in its initial run on Showtime. But I'm glad it found an audience, but the show should have ended when it did. I'm still upset about it. I wish it would come back. There's this rubbish, as Tachi would say, thing called, what is it called? I think it's called Penny Dreadful Los Angeles. That's in a different time with a completely different cast. It's like, no, how dare you use the Penny Dreadful name? I will not have it.
I think we have to remember that the business is in the business to make money. And I do realize that often they don't give things a chance to grow. It takes time. Like you said, first 2 years of Seinfeld was deplorable. It took that long for it to find its footing. But in the age that we're in now, with so many competing forms and platforms for entertainment, nobody has time to sit there and wait for it to catch on. So I think that's exactly why it's like, oh, you've got 3 episodes. If people don't like it by then, you're gone.
Yeah.
And is that good for creativity? No, because then you're chasing this thing that may be unattainable for what you want to do. You're chasing that because of ratings, because of XYZ. But I also look at it from the standpoint of money is invested into this thing and people would like to make it back. So I see it from both ends, though I'm more of a creative, but I do get it, kind of.
Yes, I see it from both those sides. And the other way I see it is I see that these people were under huge pressure to fix something, and their dedication and their talent and all this allowed them to fix something very difficult to do in a very short period of time. And I just always want to bow to them for their ability to do this, because so many shows I've watched recently, newer shows, the first couple episodes, and then all of a sudden it gets good. It's like, wow, that was hard to do. And they did it. Now, as you say, that might stifle creativity, but I'm just in awe of and have huge respect for these people that actually do it, that actually make it happen. Because
Absolutely.
of pressure from on high. Because
I'm actually surprised that
these aren't the execs who are changing it. These are the execs who are telling these producers and directors and actors, hey, fix this or you're gone. And they fix it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they don't seem to do. I know they can't film several episodes and then be like, this doesn't work, and then refilm things. Every once in a while I hear about something like that happening with a pilot, where I remember there was several years ago, there was a really big show that was a lot of hope for. I think it was called Ink, and it starred Ted Danson and his wife. And they basically fired everybody but them, and then reshot 2 or 3 episodes before it even made it onto the on air. But I'm surprised that they don't write several full scripts, and have table reads and flesh it out before they start even filming. Because sometimes just the story doesn't make sense, or the way they're introducing characters feels really clunky. And you feel like they could basically spot that before anybody says action. So I'm kind of surprised at some things that they don't flesh out by let's focus on the first 5 episodes, work that out with the actors and the chemistry and stuff like that with no cameras running, and then start filming.
I think sometimes the pilot, there's so much chaos going on during pilot season. They write the thing, they got to cast it. They run a huge, they have a limited budget. They have limited time. And I think they barely make it most of the time. And then they get it on a network, and then, then hopefully they're going to get another chance. I mean, I think that's what often happens. A lot of these shows aren't backed by these networks or these
Right.
or Netflix or anything until after it's pitched. Here's our episode, and then they say it's a Netflix show. Netflix
Absolutely.
had nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. So, and if it's not picked up by somebody, then you're standing with an episode or 2 in the can, still trying to pitch things. We just been through this whole process, so it's very interesting and nerve-wracking.
Then you end up on Vudu or something. There's a great show on Vudu called The Bureau, a French show. It's a French show. And if you have a chance to watch it, I think it's on Amazon Prime, but you got to pay for it, and you have to pay for it. You have to pay for it. I know you don't want to do that, Tachi. You told me before, but
Very good.
it's unbelievable. It's kind of like The Wire, but it's French. Fantastic.
The Wire.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I have been watching The Last Kingdom. You seen that? Oh,
I have
it's
not.
on Netflix. It's excellent. It's about the Vikings and in the 9th century and their wars with the Anglo-Saxons. And the sets and the costumes and everything is so incredibly accurate. And the acting is really good. And the battle scenes, and it's just excellent stuff. The Last Kingdom.
The Last Kingdom. Okay.
Yeah. Get a chance.
Yeah, I have
On
not
Netflix.
seen it.
The problem now is there are so many shows
and so many platforms, things can easily get lost in the fray.
Yeah, I remember years ago, like if we were doing this show years ago before podcasting and all this, we would all be watching the same stuff because
correct.
You had your network TV, which is mostly what people watched, and there was 2 or 3 great shows on there at a time. Cable, maybe a little bit. So when we would come on, if we were to come on this podcast back then, 20, 30 years ago, we'd all have a ton of things to talk about in common.
Let's discuss Dynasty. And not that horrible CW remake, reimagining trash. Boo.
Who shot JR?
Yeah.
Dads of Dallas.
Exactly.
Yes.
Dallas.
Well, because go ahead, Tachi.
Well, those were the things, if you think about it, everybody watched the same things, but those were also the things that made news, not just Entertainment Tonight. If you would watch the regular news, they're like, the big question was, who shot JR? That pop culture news would make it into your local broadcast as well, which let you know these were things that were important to the entire country because everybody was watching the same thing. But what's happened now is we have what I call these entertainment silos because of the proliferation of so many platforms, so many programs, so much content. Years ago at NATP, the National Association of Television Program Executives, I go to that conference every year. Their theme, I think it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, was content is king. And ever since then, there has been and then the proliferation of all these sub channels on cable when cable was a thing. So everybody needed content to fill up their sub channels. And now we have the digital. So there's so much content. There's so many platforms that those same conversations that we had years ago about who shot JR don't happen because there are probably 17 million JRs on different shows in different platforms.
Yeah, but some things are still breaking through. Like, oh my God, The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda stole America's hearts.
I still have to watch that. I haven't seen it because I don't have Disney Plus.
I do the free trial.
Oh, okay.
You know that's how I watch.
Yeah, and you have.
Okay.
I thought you had some like kids, like little kids also.
Me?
You don't have any kids?
Yeah, you don't
I have a 23-year-old and an 18-year-old.
Okay, I thought that you had
you had small kids.
Twins. I thought you had like 10-year-olds or something too.
No.
Okay, well then that's why explains why
I have an 11-year-old dog.
Well,
he would love Disney Plus.
It's a she.
She would love Disney Plus.
I have to watch this Mandalorian thing.
Oh my God.
The Baby Yoda and all. Because I keep on seeing it on Saturday Night Live and things like that.
Yes, well, because this is why you're seeing it, because even if you are not a Star Wars fan, which for me, I'm more of a Star Trek person than a Star Wars person.
Yeah, well, I'm a Star Trek person too.
Yeah. So I'm not the one to go in, oh, Star Wars, I'll watch it but it's not my big thing. But you don't even have to understand the whole Star Wars universe and what's going on to understand what's happening in The Mandalorian. And I think that's what makes it pop. I think
it's absolutely a standalone show. You could
standalone.
You could have never watched any Star Wars anything and start watching The Mandalorian tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm there,
and it would make sense.
I'm watching it.
Speaking of that, of like controversy, I want to hear what you guys heard about the firing that just happened with The Mandalorian. So I guess since you're not watching it, I don't know if you heard about this, Ray, but actress Gina Carano.
I think it's is it Carrera or Carrera? I don't remember.
Anyway, Carano. Carano, that's it. Who played Cara Dune. She was just let go from Lucasfilms as they said that she will no longer be part of any Star Wars projects because she apparently has had a history of tweeting a lot of right-wing stuff. She had tweeted she was an anti-masker. So, she's great right there with that. And then also she had a problem with the whole pronoun thing about people wanting to be called by different pronouns. She publicly talked about that and having an issue with that. And of course, the star of the show, he has a sister now who just, revealed publicly that she wants to now be referred to as her or something like that. And then I guess the straw that broke the camel's back was on Wednesday. She posted this thing comparing being a Republican to being a Jew in Nazi Germany with a picture of people in concentration camps. It was just anyway, so people, of course, are crying free speech, whatever, those classic cries, and, cancel Disney Plus kind of talk. But what bothers me about this, these are the same exact people who had no problem with wanting to silence Colin Kaepernick and get him fired from the NFL for kneeling during the national anthem. They weren't cool with his free speech. And so free speech, and just a correction for anybody who's listening who doesn't already know this, free speech only means that the government will not prosecute you for anything you say, other than you shouting fire in a crowded theater. But that's what free speech is about. So if you said tell your boss that their breath is horrible and their wife is a whore, yeah, they can fire you, and that is still free speech. They have the right to do what they want.
Thank you, Kevin. I agree. But my wife is not a whore. And I have good breath.
Your wife is great.
Well, actors, they need to be careful about what they put on their social media.
Well, she knew what she was doing, because actually they were actually going to do a spinoff show with her character. She was going to have her own show, but then she came out so hard on this anti-mask thing. And then she also was saying that the presidential election was stolen. So they actually put the kibosh on her own individual show, but she was still on The Mandalorian. And then she ended up blowing that up too. So she's not only has she been fired from that show, but also they just announced that her agency has dropped her as well.
Yeah. Let her go back to mixed martial arts with the world she's from, because there's no time for that. It always
that's the same Gina Carano. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember her as doing the mixed martial arts.
Yeah, she's from the MMA world. So my thing is, like, if they like that type of thing in that world, good for them. Go back there. It always floors me that people don't understand. You're working on set. This is in the workplace in general, but let's talk about acting. You're working on set with people that have all different types of backgrounds. And the fact that you say these things, but you think you're okay saying it because you're not saying it on set. Well, this shows me how you think about me when you're on set. It's more the things you say off set are more telling than what you actually say when you're here. So the fact that I hope she's not saying anything and outcrying, because you deserve to be fired. I think they were just waiting for, this is the third strike. So they're like, all right, she's gone. I think I'm sure they were just waiting.
Yeah. I mean, if you're ultra, and I am very much left, but if you're ultra right wing in Hollywood, keep your mouth shut. If you want to keep working,
but I think that what's changed is what is right wing now is like, it's not even like a political kind of point of view. It's just this whole fantasy world.
It's absurd.
It's like, where Trump won by millions and billions of votes, but it was stolen from him. And the coronavirus is not real. All these so to basically be putting out all kinds of false information,
right,
and then be shocked when you lose your job because you're doing it.
Exactly. I mean, it's okay to be what I meant was, it's fine to be a regular conservative, but when you start becoming one of those nutso QAnon anti-masker people, then forget about it. You're going to ruin your career if you start popping that stuff off.
Let's talk about the anti-maskers just for a second. All these people, they're all flag waving and freedom, don't take my freedom. Costco is a privately held company. That owner has the freedom to say you can't shop in his store unless you're wearing a mask. And these same people will burst in and want to fight and yell and throw tantrums when they're not welcome in Target when they're not wearing a mask. That is freedom. You can open up your own store and not wear a mask if you want to. But other store owners have the ability to say what happens in their store. Just like what no one talked about. You can't take my freedom when you go into a McDonald's when it says no shoes, no shirts, no service. But for some reason, being asked to wear a face mask during a pandemic that's the line that is too far for your freedom.
Also, you might be killing people. You know, I mean,
Well,
Yeah, there's
I know.
that. There's that.
But you know, that's secondary. That's secondary. And that's a whole other conversation.
exactly.
So
And we're coming up on another 40 minutes of my free Zoom account.
Oh,
yes.
man. We didn't even get a chance to talk about what other shows we're watching.
Wow. Well, I can do another one if you want.
Okay, sure.
I'm up for it.
All right. Okay. All right.
We're
Well,
gonna have a lot of fun editing this.
folks, we'll be right back.
Hello.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Ray Renati with Green Room on Air. My special guests, Tachi and Kevin of TV Channeling Podcast. Kevin,
Yes.
you wanted to talk about what you were watching.
So, I thought we were going to talk about what we were watching, but
Hey, well, let's hear what you're watching first.
all right. So we were talking about how there's so many platforms, and when that happens, shows can kind of get lost. And so two things that I just stumbled upon, I saw no advertising, no nothing. And I think they may have gotten some press like in other countries, but not here, at least not where I'm looking, was Home. It's an HBO Max. It's available through HBO Max, but it's not an HBO Max original show. And have either of you heard of Home?
No.
I have. Yes, I have, but I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so basically it's about this couple who's newly living together. The woman has a son from a previous relationship who's like around, I guess, 9 or something. And they go on some vacation, and they live in the UK. They live in England, and they get a stowaway when they're coming back from their holiday in France. A Syrian refugee is hiding in their trunk, and he basically ends up becoming like entangled in their lives. And it is a dramedy, and I was shocked at how absolutely heart wrenching, tugging, all kinds of hard stuff, massaging, a lot of hard things happening in this show, and it is just like, to me, one of the hidden gems that I'm stunned that people don't know about. So it's actually like 2 seasons of it. I can't wait for season 3. So definitely look for that on if you have HBO. I almost said HBO Plus, HBO Max. And then there's another show which was it's called Frayed, Frayd. And it's about a wealthy London housewife in the 90s who all of a sudden finds out that not only was her husband cheating on her, but he had a heart attack while doing it and died. Oh, and also it turns out that he had lost all their money. And so she's now a widow. She now has nothing, and she had reinvented herself. She was actually from Australia, and she had reinvented herself and had this amazing life in London. And now she has to crawl back to with her tail between her legs and her 2 teenage children back to Australia. And the show is amazing. It is so funny. And the ending of the ending of the season was one of the most jaw-dropping, what the blanks. It blew my mind. And I was desperate, absolutely desperate to find out if there's going to be a second season. Just found out today there is going to be a season 2, and it's going into production. I'm like, oh my God, give it to me now.
Right.
Wow.
And this is an Australian TV show, it looks like.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it here on IMDb.
I believe it originated in Australia, but it's available on HBO Max. So check out Frayed and Home. And something that might be easier, people may have heard of, is Star Trek Lower Decks. We talked about being Trekkies. Oh my God. That show I was shocked at how much of a delight. I love Star Trek. I've watched every Star Trek show except for Enterprise. Just could not get into Enterprise. But Lower Decks is an animated series, and I was surprised at how much Star Trek feels. The show gets everything right. everything right. It is so funny. It has the true kind of Star Trek feeling of exploring new places, new people, action packed, but genuinely laugh out loud funny. Just, I can't say enough about the show. I love it so much. And also can't wait for season 2 of Star Trek Picard.
Yes.
And so it looks like Star Trek Lower Decks is available on CBS All Access.
All Access, which I believe is being rebranded. I think it's going to be
it's going to be Paramount Plus.
And also, is that where Picard is?
Yeah. Yes, it's also Picard.
Okay.
If you're in America, in other countries, it's like on Netflix, which nothing enrages me more that I have to get an extra platform. And there are people that are in other countries. They're like, oh yeah, we're all watching. All of this is on Netflix for us. So, well,
you can get a VPN that blocks the Netflix IP addresses and make it look like you're from another country.
Okay, have you used it?
I'm going to jail for that. But
have you used a DPN and has it actually worked successfully for you?
Okay, I have a VPN, but it's not one that is designed to allow you to watch Netflix from wherever you are in whatever country. So yeah, there are only like 3 or 4 that are really good at doing that.
Well, if anybody who actually knows which ones is good and stays good, because I've had success where you have it for like 5 minutes and it's working, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
and it's wah wah. So
because Netflix hunts down those IP addresses and figures out that it's people trying to cheat, and then they don't let you in anyway.
Yeah, so if anybody knows which is the best one to use, please slide into my DMs and let me know.
Yeah, let Kevin know. Or let me know at greenroomonair@gmail.com, and I will kindly give the information to Kevin.
Oh yeah, and I'm Big Man Out at Big Man Out on Twitter and at Movie Gnome on Instagram. So please help me.
There you go.
Evan, did he ask you?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to watch Picard with my Netflix subscription. Thank you very much, Tachi.
Oh, that's okay. I have to see Picard. I love him.
Yes. He's actually, I think, awesome. My favorite. Yeah, Patrick Stewart is just everything.
I met him.
He is my favorit. Oh, did you?
You need to hear your Picard story. Your
okay,
Patrick Stewart
all right.
story.
I was going to school in London about 11 years ago at Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and we used to go see shows all the time. And he and Ian McKellen were doing Waiting for Godot.
Oh,
and we went at 7 a.m. and got 10 quid tickets, cost 10 quid. And we came back that night or in the afternoon and sat in the front row. And my friend to the right from me was he's gay, but he wasn't out. But Ian McKellen could tell. And during the show, Ian McKellen, there was a part where Ian McKellen's character came up to the edge of the lip of the stage and put down a shoe, and he winked at my friend sitting next to me in the middle of the play with like 1,500 people. And then so anyway, that was hilarious. And then we had another girl in the class who was so boisterous, and she was wearing orange, and she laughed so loud. And she's one of those people, like if you hear people laughing in a group, you can pick her out, And so they were obviously talking about that. So we went backstage. We went to the stage door after the show because I wanted to get an autograph, and somebody else had asked me to get an autograph because they forgot to the day before. And Ian McKellen snuck out somewhere else, but Patrick Stewart came out, and there was only like 4 of us. And we talked for like 20 minutes. And he goes, oh, yes. She goes, we were just watching the show, this girl. And she goes, oh, yes, we heard you. And it was so funny. But he was he was the nicest guy, so down to earth, like none of this movie star crap going on. None of that. Just, he was wearing like his Yankees cap so people couldn't tell he was. And he so nice and so polite, and we were laughing, and he said, I have to go have a show this evening. I need to take a nap. And so pulled down his Yankee cap and walked away. It was awesome.
Oh, what a great story.
Oh, yeah. One last thing I want to mention before we hear Tachi's list. What We Do in the Shadows on FX is everything.
Really?
Everything. So I take it neither of you have seen it?
No.
No, not yet.
Yeah, What We Do
Not
in the
yet.
Shadows, it's basically kind of like, imagine a show like The Office. You know how The Office was like a documentary? So this is a show where it's a documentary team is following this guy who is an apprentice for these a home with vampires, and he basically is their personal assistant, and he aspires to be made into a vampire, and he basically does all their dirty work. It's a comedy, and it is one of the most hysterical things you will ever see. It just does not disappoint. It's so fun. So
I'm looking at here on IMDb Pro. I'm going to watch all of these. I got it on my list.
oh,
great,
so
Kevin.
fun. You will thank me.
I will personally.
Tachi, what are you watching?
So here's the thing. I have been a little slack lately on watching a lot of shows just because there's so much going on. And I'm also, I don't know, I think I act like a millennial sometimes because I have a whole list of shows that I need to sit and watch. However, I watch a lot of YouTube. I am a huge YouTube person. So I watch an awful lot of YouTube personalities. And I think that just kind of speaks to the fact of, the everyday average person now becoming a public figure. So I find that fascinating. So I watch a lot of that. However, in terms of film, and I have to finish it up. I couldn't because I had something else to do. Malcolm and Marie. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't.
Nor
Kevin,
have
have you
I.
seen Malcolm?
I haven't even heard of it.
Yes,
Me
so
either.
it's on Netflix. This is it has the feel of an indie film, which I love because I come from the indie film world. It is Zendaya and what is Washington? Denzel Washington's son, his first name. I can't remember his first name.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. That has gotten all kinds of buzz that she may be getting an Oscar nomination.
Yes. So it's just really well done. And it's in black and white, which is, I love black and white films. There's something about the mystery of this and it blocks you in. I always feel that because you're not being distracted by the colors. So you're focusing on the story. And it is just... You don't know who to be for or against. And this is the perfect COVID movie because there are only two. It's a cast of two.
I see that. Two people.
Yes.
Wow.
Two people.
Yeah.
Which lets you know that you don't have to have a whole trailer load of folks to make a good film. You don't. Now, again, they had crew, etc. But I can imagine that it was a skeleton crew.
Oh, I heard she
for
did
this
her
as
own
well.
makeup. That's how how big of a skeleton the crew was, that she did her own makeup for the movie.
And that makes sense.
Oh, and
right?
her own
Because
wardrobe. She actually used her own clothes from home.
I
her own
love
clothes.
it.
Yeah, it is really good. I'm only about halfway through, so I'm probably tonight going to finish it up. But I would highly suggest taking a look at Malcolm and Marie.
And it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Yay.
Well,
Everyone's
speaking
got
of
Netflix.
Of YouTube, Tachi, even though I gave you a list, this is normally I would have a lot more things on my list. But because of COVID, and also, honestly, I feel like because of literally the last 4 years and COVID combined, 2020, just everything that was 2020, just a lot of things I just wasn't watching. A lot of things. My viewing habits have changed where I can't handle violence. Like Ray earlier was talking about watching gritty things. I used to love grit. I used to love shows like I watched Dexter until the debacle of the last, the final season was just the
God, what
worst.
a nightmare.
But it's coming back, unfortunately. It's coming back for a what are they calling it? They're calling it like some kind of event, the term event or whatever. Basically, it's a limited. They're saying it's limited to one more season, but if it's a huge success, then it'll keep going again. But I can't handle violent things now. I just it just felt because with the whole Black Lives Matter protest and George Floyd thing, I'd seen so much accidentally, not always I'm looking for it, but on Twitter, I had seen so many images of protest and just horrific real life violence, it didn't desensitize me. It made me more sensitive to imagine, movie magic violence where I don't have the stomach for it. And so when I'm not watching comedies or people wearing corsets, falling onto fainting couches, then I'm watching YouTube videos, AMSR, and being lulled to sleep. You mentioned you have problems sleeping, Ray. So do I. And having somebody like whisper to me on YouTube as I doze off seems to help.
I cannot stand those things.
Yes, Ray. Thank you. So
God.
I cannot stand.
Oh, it's like fingernails on the
whispering,
chalkboard.
especially. Oh,
I don't understand why you two have a problem with that.
stop it.
Just relax.
It's just very soothing. Just relax.
But that's not bad. It's the ones
Let
that
the
are like.
cares of the day go, Tachi.
Well, the problem is,
No, but
like you
that's okay.
actually
It's the
sound
ones
good.
that are right. It's the ones that are actually like, I'm doing MSR and
I hate that.
I hate that. That bugs me. And in fact, there was Chloe Kravitz did a commercial years ago. It was for one of these beer companies.
Yes,
Let's say it was Bud Light.
for Corona.
For Corona. She did, and then it was like all ASMR where she was clanging bottles together and things. So those things are supposed to be relaxing or arousing or whatever. As she was whispering, I changed the channel every time that came on because I hate it so.
Yeah. Oh, got it. And then they go like,
Yes. Yeah. Or they'll do things like, do you like
yeah, yeah.
I hate it. Exactly. But these people get paid big bucks, so they're making money off of their YouTube channels with the ASMR if they're really good. So I'll shut up.
Good for you.
So are there any
I don't want you
upcoming?
to shut up.
Are there any? Ray, what else are you watching right now?
I am watching Your Honor on Showtime. I love Cranston. I love the show. That's the kind of show I like. I love crime dramas like that. Have you seen this or do you know about it?
I have heard about it, but I have not seen it. The only legal thing I'm watching right now I watch All Rise, a CBS show about a judge in Los Angeles. And I have to say, it gives me feels because it feels like here. Sometimes when shows are set in a particular place, I've always heard people complain about, like, if they're from Chicago or from Boston and a show takes place there, where someone will say, like, I'll meet you on the corner of such and such and such and such, and I'll be there in 2 minutes. And like, you can't get there from there in 2 minutes. And so I've noticed that too when it's shows based in LA. People will be like, I'm over here in the Pico district and I'll be in Culver City in 3 minutes. And like, and do you have a teleporter? How are you gonna? So but that show reminds me, the other show that to me felt like LA when I used to watch it was 6 Feet Under. Felt like home.
I love 6 Feet Under.
I love 6 Feet Under, and it felt like home. Even down to like when they come back from getting groceries, they had Trader Joe's bags. Like, this is home. And so All Rise to me feels like LA.
And that's on CBS.
Yeah, it's on CBS. And it's actually I really liked it. I was sure it was going to get canceled, but it shockingly got a second season.
Right on. Gotta love that.
Absolutely.
But getting back to Your Honor on Showtime, the story is that a judge, his son, accidentally killed a young man on a motorcycle who is the son of the largest organized crime person in New Orleans.
Uh-oh.
And so they were going to go and turn themselves in and tell the truth and everything until he realized who the kid was. And the whole show is Cranston's character trying to cover up this horrific crime. It's really good.
Bryan Cranston can't keep out of a life of crime. Is anybody looking into him? Because I don't know.
Well,
He seems pretty
typecast.
sketchy.
He's good at, he did. I mean, Breaking Bad was such a huge hit, so that, they're always going to put him in things like that now.
Well, whenever I see a kid on a bicycle, I just like, oh, damn, Breaking Bad.
But he's done some great work on Broadway, before COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
he's a great actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I really remember him from Malcolm in the Middle, and I so enjoyed his.
I love Malcolm
I
in
didn't
the
watch
Middle
that
back
show.
in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the dad on Malcolm in the Middle.
I remember. I just never watched it. I wish I had. I guess I can go back and watch it.
You can.
I can. Oh, you know what's coming back? Ozark. Did you watch that?
Oh, no, I never got into Ozark.
Oh,
Okay,
so
you know
good.
what? What's interesting is I ended up reading like a think piece, and I don't remember all of it, but I will. The narrative of the think piece is the reason why I just could not. I love Laura Linney like people love cooked food. Laura Linney is just the best. I just think she's amazing. But I just got to a point where, because after the success of Breaking Bad and then like even The Sopranos, all these things about like, you know, white people that get involved in lives of crime because they're like cornered and they end up in a life of crime, but they keep like getting away with it and stuff like that. And the idea that the audience sympathize with these people when they start killing people and covering up crime versus what happens when a person of color, how they're looked at in a similar situation. So I think there's some kind of subconscious kind of whatever thing with me where I just can't watch anybody that's just supposed to be the anti-hero, where I'm a good person, but I'm like cutting up people and melting them in acid because, you know, my kids got to go to college or whatever. It just like, I can't. I have like a mental block on those kinds of things. Maybe not forever, but right now, when Ozark came along and I heard what it was about, I'm just like, I got to tap out.
Well, I'll tell you though, different from. Do I speak English? I don't know. It's a little different from Breaking Bad in that Jason Bateman and the Laura Linney characters are pretty decrepit. I mean, you don't feel too bad for them.
So you're not rooting for them in the show?
No. They're like destroying the lives of their children. She's awful. It's not like yes, they are the anti-heroes, but you're not, for me anyway, I didn't feel like, oh, poor them. They got stuck in this situation. No. I felt more like that for Walter White to some extent, but for them, I never feel that way.
Yeah, my feeling bad for Walter White changed when they put that little kid on the bicycle and they put him in. Oh, that still haunts me. When the little kid. I can't. I just like you're no longer an anti-hero. You're not. There's no hero anything. When you're putting kids in acid, you're out. I'm done. I'm done. I had to tap out.
Well, the Jason Bateman character in Ozark was already a criminal before they had to move to the Ozarks for certain reasons, and they let him live. But he was already doing bad stuff. So
yeah, and also I don't know how many people are in the Ozarks voluntarily.
Yeah.
Well, there goes our Ozark demographic. Thanks, Tachi. They're going to stop listening to the show.
Did we ever have
the secondary characters in Ozark are great too. That's one of the reasons I like it. I like all the ding 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 people.
What? Wow.
All the deliverance people. Oh, the deliverance.
Yeah.
No, we know.
Yeah. Anyway, well, we've been talking for quite a while here, and it's been so much fun. I could talk all day, but
yeah, that's kind of what happens on our show. That's kind of what happens on our show. We have a hard time keeping it under an hour.
Oh, you know what I'm really looking forward to coming back is Outlander.
Oh my God. I have a friend who, if she happens to hear this show, you know who you are, who is obsessed with Outlander and has forced me at gunpoint to watch many scenes of Jamie Dorian. What is his name? Anyway, yeah. Jamie. I call that show her guilty pleasure.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
It's a good show. I mean, it's sometimes it's ridiculous. There are so many coincidences every episode, and you're like, oh, come on. But I'm telling you, it's like, I guess it's like reading a romance novel.
Oh, I think it is. It's absolutely baked because, oh my God, there's the heaving cleavage.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing. The fireside sex scenes where everybody is magnificently lit in these little shacks.
And they're both so beautiful.
Oh no, first of all, okay, we shouldn't go into this, but the idea that everybody wants a piece of Jamie, like not just women, like men are kidnapping him and raping him. And then there's this whole thing where there's this guy who's obsessed with him, but it's platonic. But then like Jamie needs him to do a favor. Like, you know what? If you look after my kid, then you know what? You can have me. It's like everybody wants a taste.
And that guy that plays, oh my God, they double up this character, which is her former husband before she went into the past. And he is also the most ruthless, insane British villain, like a colonel, and he's horrible. And he plays, and she sees him that it's the same person. Oh, it's the same actor, and she sees it as the character. It's so weird, and it's so gross. And when he rapes Jamie, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to watch on TV in my entire life.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
No, that show, back. But the fans of that show are so ravenous for it. There are so many videos and episode recaps on YouTube where people go over it like practically frame by frame as if it's like a presidential assassination tape or something, JFK. Yeah. It is, they examine it so finely.
It's so addictive. Oh man.
Okay, this does not sound like wholesome entertainment, just saying.
Oh, again, just like Bridgerton, a lot of thrusting, Tachi.
Yeah, it's much thrusting.
Wow.
Kilts and thrusting.
Thrusting.
That's what they should call the show.
Plowing.
Kilts and thrusting.
Yes, kilts, thrusting, plowing, and humping.
And stabbings too.
And stabbings, lots of blood.
Whippings. Oh, that's another thing. There's gifts horrible. Of like women of Jamie being whipped and all. Yeah, it's
beyond anything you've ever seen. Oh my God. It's just,
I don't think I'm in a hurry to see this, but thank
you. Thank you guys for coming. I need to go do some things.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. It was so much fun to finally get into the green room.
Absolutely.
What a privilege it is for me.
And such a flattering shade of green too.
Isn't it?
Indeed.
I'm not sure which green you're talking about, but I'll go for that. Thank you. Have a great day. And
thank you.
We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ray.
You bet. Hey, folks. Thanks again for tuning in to Green Room on Air and listening to this fun conversation I had with Tachi and Kevin. I hope to have them on again. In the meantime, everybody, keep yourself safe. Wash your hands. Wear your masks. Social distance. Be kind to your neighbor. And I think I'll close out with a little guitar and singing for you. And until next time, I will see you on the boards. Take care, everybody.
See you in heaven, Grandpa.